Welcome into another episode of Bombers Breakdown presented by Tompkins Trust Company, the show talking to all your favorite coaches here on the South Hill. I'm your host, Severin Lavenstein, and joining me today is the head coach of the Ithaca College women's basketball team, Dan Raymond. Coach, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me on, Severin.
All right, Coach. So lots of really important, extra burning questions for you today. Are you ready? You think you can handle it?
Well, I think I'm ready.
That sounds good. So, Coach, you have such a great record here on the South Hill. Always have a great team, always super well known. But tell us about your journey to get to where you are now.
My path has been that long and winding road, if you will. I didn't get into this profession until I was approaching 40. I kind of was one of those students that kind of breezed through high school and didn't really have to work very hard. And when it came to deciding whether to go to college or not, I decided that I didn't really want to, didn't really need to at that point, even though I always knew what I'm doing now was what I really wanted to do, but I just wasn't willing to put in the time and effort it took to get there. So my family had a small electrical contracting business in my hometown. So I went to work for my grandfather and my father and did that for about 15 years. And what really kind of changed my course was my uncle came back and he ended up coaching the varsity boys basketball team in my hometown and asked me if I'd be interested in coaching the junior high boys basketball team. So that's where my coaching career actually got started. And at that point, I knew this is what I really needed to do. So my wife and I, at that point, we had 3 children, made the decision to, bite the bullet, if you will, and go to college. So I ended up, getting my bachelor's degree at SUNY Cortland. And that's where I kind of began my coaching career on the women's side too, because prior to that, everything had been on the boys or men's side. So that's where I started at SUNY Cortland. And for 1 year, I was named the interim head coach after I finished my undergraduate degree. But it required a master's at Cortland, so I didn't have that. So after that one interim year, I ended up going up to Lemoyne, doing my master's degree and worked as a graduate assistant up there. Then that following year, that's when I kind of went back and was an electrician by day. And my first opportunity at Ithaca College was coaching the men's JV team at that point. So that's kind of how I got to where I am.
Do you think that being an electrician would be in your cards for if you weren't coaching, or were there any other backup plans for you?
Well, I mean, I do a little, electrical work on the side. I have a neighbor that, did an apartment. And so I ended up working with him on that. I've helped out my 2 daughters that live in the area. I've helped them out with some of the work around their houses. So I dabble in that, but that's as much as I want to do.
I got to come back to you for some tips on how to lower my electric bill then. That sounds awesome. So, Coach, tell me a little bit about what you and the team have been doing. And I know you help out with softball as well. So just really from your personal side of things, what you've been up to since the pandemic hit and how maybe you've sort of refocused things in order to have what I would consider at least some successful results so far from when the pandemic hit till now. I mean, it's great to see that you've been active and the teams have been kind of up and running.
Well, I mean, we were really not sure what we were going to be able to do all the way up until, the decision was made to allow students back on campus for the second semester. So at that point, we were allowed to bring our students back middle of January. And from that time on, it was really hard to call what we were doing practices. They were more like skill workouts, if you will. And we tried to be creative with what we were doing with those, workouts. They're basically, it was glorified shooting workouts that we were doing, but, we find ways to be productive in that time period that we had. And we were meeting, 5 times a week for an hour to an hour and a half. And then we got into March and we were allowed to have some contact. And we did that 2 times a week for 20 minutes in preparation for the 2 exhibition games, scrimmages that, if you will, that we had. And I commend our student athletes for the commitment that they showed during those times, because it was difficult, to find the motivation to come in and work that time. And, obviously we made some gains as far as, being able to shoot the ball. We shot the ball a lot in those 2.5 months. And the 2 opportunities that we had to actually play, I was really, really pleased with what they showed me on the court.
Coach, for me personally, at least, covering the NCAA tournament run from a couple of years ago, I guess now was a real highlight. And I'm curious, what do you remember most fondly from that season? And what were your takeaways now? I guess now that we're 2 years or so removed from that season.
It was, special, obviously. And I think what made it special was the combination of personalities and players, that how we were able to kind of, I guess, mesh everything together to make it work. Because, I've had teams here that were probably top to bottom more talented, but there's just something that worked with that group, and there were a couple, moments, if you will, during the course of the season that kind of really brought everything into focus for us. And then, having someone special like Annie Giannoni on that team, she just made everything kind of work. And there's really no words to describe what she meant to that group. And to me, she's a very special young woman and did some things that were just incredible.
All right, let's shift gears to some questions to maybe figure out a little bit more about you as a coach and also as a person. So, Coach Raymond, I'd like to know, what is your biggest coaching pet peeve? So examples might be a lack of hustle, a bad day of practice during the week, not hitting your free throws, anything you can give me there.
Well, the number one thing is just not listening when players don't listen. But if there's one thing, and you can ask any of my players, one thing that happens on the court during the course of the game that just pushes me over the top, it's giving up offensive rebounds on free throws.
There it is. There it is. I think that'll drive anybody crazy. Oh, man. Okay, so now we've got to get into the biggest question here. So again, no pressure, but there is a pretty definitive line from some of the coaches I've talked to so far. Everybody's on one side. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but again, one of the biggest questions of all time: is cereal soup, or is a hot dog a sandwich? You must pick one side of things. Where do you stand?
Wait a minute. Again, give me that question one more time.
Of course, all the time that you need here, because it's this important. So, is cereal classified as a soup, or is a hot dog classified as a sandwich? One, you must stand on the side of one or the other. So choose wisely.
Cereal is not soup, and I'll even give you the other one too. I'll say hot dog is a sandwich.
I just, one of these days I'm going to get someone who actually thinks that cereal is soup. So then, my follow-up is this: what if I put something other than the hot dog in the hot dog bun? If you cut up a hamburger and you put it in the hot dog bun, is that then a hot dog? It's not a hamburger anymore.
But anything that you use bread to eat with, I consider that a sandwich.
Where am I losing you? Am I losing you on the consistency? Because, then we can go into like oatmeal, and I know people are big into acai bowls. Those kind of are soupy cereal kind of things. It's okay. I'll take the L on this one once again.
Sorry.
It's okay. So next fun question for you. And this is, again, a little bit of a brain twister, at least for me. You might have an easier time with it, but would you rather in a fight take on 15 horse-sized ducks or 100 duck-sized horses?
I'll take the ducks.
Okay. All right. Any particular reason?
They're lower, so I think I can probably find ways to manage that situation much better.
All right, ducks can. I
don't want to look something in the eye and try to figure out how to handle that.
They can change elevation on you. That can be a little sketchy sometimes. So,
well, if a duck wants to fly, let him fly.
Love it. Okay. Coach, what is your most prized possession? It can be anything that you wish here, any sort of possession that comes to your mind.
Just my family. My wife has been my rock, and the ability to be where I am is due, almost in large, and to everything to her, and supporting me. And then, my three daughters are just, so special to me that, so that's it. That's what I'm most proud of, and that's most valuable in my life.
God, I love that answer. And so then maybe sometimes with the family schedule, you got to set out certain meals, and there are certain things that everybody likes to have on different days. But let's shift this to going into you're stranded on a desert island. You've got to pick three foods that you're taking with you. What are those three foods going to be? And it can only be specific to you or something that the whole family's going to enjoy, but you must pick your three desert island foods.
Um, I'm a big smoothie guy, so I'll take a smoothie and pizza and ice cream. How's that?
I love that. All right. The flavors of the smoothie and the ice cream, though, I feel like are deal breakers. If you say something, or I could say, are you putting pineapples on your pizza? So actually, those answers could be quite different from what some people might think initially.
No, I'm a pretty basic guy when it comes to my pizza and stuff like that. So no pineapple on my pizza. I could put pineapple in my smoothie.
That's true. Okay. I like that. So then the go-to flavor of ice cream would be, if I had to guess, I'd say you're a chocolate ice cream guy.
Well, it's funny. With ice cream, I like to have some kind of texture in it.
Okay.
So anything like, chocolate chips or peanut butter chocolate, those are the things that I would go to for my ice cream flavor.
Got it. I think that's a perfectly acceptable answer. And the final question for you here, Coach. So you can pick one. So it doesn't have to be, all three. You can do all three if you want, but I need either your favorite musical album, movie, or TV show, or all three.
Ooh. See, I'm not big on remembering names of movies and all that stuff. I watch them. That's like I watch right now. Um, I like to watch like Chicago PD, Blue Bloods, stuff like that. Anything that has a story. Movie, I could go to, like old school stuff. Like, geez, now I can't even remember the name of it. The one with the old basketball movie.
Hoosiers?
Yeah.
Hoosiers is good. I like that.
And then Remember the Titans. I love
Of course.
Remember the Titans.
Absolutely. We love going with the sports movies.
Yep.
Coach Raymond, that's going to just about do it for us here. But thank you so much for joining us here on Bombers Breakdown, presented by Tompkins Trust Company. Thank you so much, Coach, and best of luck for the rest of the year and all of your coaching endeavors so far this season.
Thank you very much, Severin. I really appreciate having this opportunity, and you do a great job with us too. So thanks again for having me on.